The mining planet Carthus hung in space like a frozen teardrop, beautiful from orbit but mercilessly cold on its surface. I'd been warned about the temperatures during orientation for my engineering internship, but nothing prepared me for the bone-deep chill that seeped through my thermal jacket as I trudged from the landing pad to my accommodations. Stellar Waypoint Hostel, read the flickering holographic sign, the sea glitching in and out of existence. Not exactly the prestigious lodging I'd hoped for, but interplanetary student exchange programs weren't known for their luxury budgets. Miguel Alvarez, Earth Block C, Room 17. I told the terminal, watching my identification chip scan with a faint blue light. Identity confirmed. Welcome to Carthus, Mr. Alvarez. Please note that due to recent diplomatic agreements, this facility now accommodates multiple species. Standard Earth amenities are not guaranteed. Multiple species. Right. The peace treaty with the Nexian Collective was barely 6 months old, ending decades of Cold War and opening interstellar travel between our worlds. I'd seen Nexians in newscasts, tall humanoids with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer with an internal luminescence, eyes like liquid metal, and a cultural reputation for rigid adherence to their social protocols. I certainly didn't expect to meet one face-to-face in a budget hostel on a mining outpost. Room 17 was Spartan but clean, a narrow bed, a desk with integrated computer terminal, and a tiny bathroom unit. The heating element in the corner hummed valiantly against the cold, but gave up the ghost within an hour of my arrival. I reported it immediately, received an automated ticket number, and resigned myself to sleeping in my thermal gear. 3 days into my stay, I was returning from my internship at the deuterium refinement facility when I first saw her. She stood alone in the common area, staring out the reinforced windows at the icy landscape. Nearly 7 feet tall, her blue skin had patterns that reminded me of frost on glass, and her silver hair was elaborately braided around a metal circlet. Our eyes met in the reflection of the window, her metallic gaze unwavering. I nodded awkwardly and hurried to my room. That night, the hostel's environmental systems went into complete failure. The temperature plummeted to near freezing within hours. Bundled in every layer I owned, I was contemplating calling the emergency services when a sharp rap came at my door. She stood in the hallway, wearing what appeared to be a thin ceremonial robe despite the cold. "Your species generates excess thermal energy," she stated flatly, her voice carrying a melodic quality despite the clipped universal translator syntax. "Mine requires external heat in suboptimal conditions." I blinked, not quite processing. "I'm sorry. I am Alara Vexthalin, diplomatic attaché in training. Your heating device functions where others fail." I glanced behind me at my jury-rigged heating element, a combination of my toolkit and spare parts I'd borrowed from work. It was barely warming a 2-foot radius. "You want to use my heater?" I asked. Alara tilted her head. "Inefficient. Nexian biology requires direct thermal transfer." Without further explanation, she stepped past me into the room, removed her outer robe to reveal a simple bodysuit beneath, and climbed directly into my bed. "Your thermal coverings," she said, patting the space beside her. "Bring them and provide heat. I cannot maintain cellular function in these temperatures." My mouth went dry. "You want me to get in bed with you? Is this not how humans survive cold? Together?" Her metallic eyes narrowed. The treaty educational materials were extensive on human thermal regulation practices. I stood frozen, not from the cold now, but from the sheer absurdity of the situation. A Nexian diplomat was in my bed, apparently believing this was normal human behavior. "My designation is Alara," she repeated, a hint of impatience in her voice. "And you are causing heat loss with the open door." The bed creaked under our combined weight as I cautiously settled beside Alara, maintaining what I considered a respectful distance. This proved futile when she immediately closed the gap, pressing her slender form against my side. "You are warm," she murmured, her voice carrying that strange melodic quality. "Nexian body temperature averages 12 degrees below human norm." I could feel it. Her skin was cool to the touch, like holding a glass of chilled water. The sensation was oddly pleasant against my perpetually overheated human biology. "Is this common practice on your world?" I managed to ask, trying to focus on anything but the feeling of her pressed against me. "Thermal sharing is practical, not intimate," Alara replied matter-of-factly, "though the sharing of personal space has other implications." Before I could inquire about these other implications, my door slammed open. In the frame stood another Nexian, broader, taller, with elaborate markings across blue skin that seemed to pulse with internal light. Unlike Alara's fluid grace, he radiated rigid authority. "Alara Vexthalin," he boomed, metallic eyes narrowing to slits. You did not inform me of your intention to initiate proximal bonding. She sat up beside me, seemingly unconcerned. The environmental systems failed, Tholian. I required thermal regulation. The newcomer, Tholian, switched his gaze to me. I had the distinct impression of being scanned at the molecular level. You, he addressed me directly. You are aware of the significance of shared space in Nexian culture. What? No, I'm just trying to help. He is providing thermal transfer as the treaty guidelines suggest humans do, Alara interrupted. I made the request following protocol. Tholian's expression, what little I could read of it, shifted from suspicion to something like resignation. Human, he said formally, I am Tholian Vexordal, guardian kin to Alara. By accepting her into your personal domain, you have initiated first-stage bonding. I must now formally acknowledge you as a potential. My stomach dropped. A potential what? A potential bondmate, Alara supplied helpfully, as if discussing the weather. The room seemed to spin. Wait, that's not, we're just sharing body heat because the heating system broke. There's no bonding happening here. Tholian's posture stiffened further. Are you rejecting the bond potential? This would be a significant diplomatic incident. Great, 3 days on Carthus, and I was already risking an interstellar incident. No, I mean, I'm not rejecting anything, I just didn't know. Then the first stage is acknowledged, Tholian declared. I will inform the Nexian consulate. The traditional observation period begins now. With that pronouncement, he bowed stiffly and exited, leaving me gaping in his wake. I turned to Alara. What just happened? She blinked those mercurial eyes. You have been recognized as someone who may potentially become my life partner. It is merely the first of 5 stages, requiring minimal commitment beyond continued interaction. Life partner, I squeaked. Alara, on Earth, people don't become life partners just by sharing a bed for warmth. Fascinating, your cultural materials suggested physical proximity was a precursor to your bonding rituals. She tilted her head. Have I misunderstood human courtship? I ran a hand through my hair. Yes, completely. Then I have made an error, she stated, though she made no move to leave the bed. However, to withdraw now would cause Tholian significant status loss as my guardiankin. He would be required to challenge you to restore honor. Challenge me like a duel. Precisely. I flopped back onto the pillow, staring at the ceiling. So either I pretend to court you, or I fight your 7-foot-tall guardian. Those are the options according to traditional protocol, yes. For the first time, I detected a hint of amusement in her voice, though I must inform you that Tholian has never lost a challenge. Outside, the winds of Carthus howled against the hostile walls, but they weren't nearly as cold as the realization of my predicament. Days passed with the hostel's environmental systems remaining under repair, a situation I was beginning to suspect was less than coincidental. Each night, Alara would appear at my door precisely at the local equivalent of 10 p.m., and each night I would make room for her cool presence in my bed. We talked during these strange, intimate nights. About Earth, about the Nexian homeworld with its 3 moons and crystalline forests, about my engineering studies and her diplomatic training. Gradually, the awkwardness gave way to a strange comfort. On the 7th night, I finally asked the question that had been bothering me. Why me, Alara? There must be other rooms with functional heaters. She was silent for a long moment, her metallic eyes reflecting the dim light of my makeshift heating unit. You were selected, she finally replied. Selected by whom? By the Diplomatic Assessment Committee. She shifted to face me fully. I am not merely a diplomatic attaché in training, Miguel. I am part of the first Nexian Cultural Immersion Initiative. I blinked. You're studying us. I am studying bonding behaviors between our species to develop more effective diplomatic protocols. Her expression remained unreadable. Your psychological profile suggested adaptability and low xenophobic tendencies. You were deemed an optimal subject. The revelation should have angered me, but curiosity won out. So this whole thing, the bed sharing, the bonding stages, it's all an experiment. Not entirely. Alara's fingers traced an idle pattern on the thermal blanket between us. The bond stages are genuine Nexian tradition. My implementation of them in this context is creative. I couldn't help but laugh. You're breaking rules. For the first time, I saw her lips curve into what might be considered a smile. I am interpreting them flexibly. There is a distinction. And Tholian, is he in on this experiment too? Tholian believes I am following a traditional courtship path. He would not approve of scientific manipulation of sacred protocols. So you're lying to him. I was beginning to see Alara in a new light, less the rigid alien diplomat, more a rebel in her own subtle way. I am omitting certain motivational factors, she corrected. The outcomes remain culturally authentic. I propped myself up on one elbow. And what happens when your experiment is complete? You write up your report and move on to the next human subject. Something flickered across her features, gone so quickly I might have imagined it. That was the original protocol. Zan now. Alara reached out, her cool fingers brushing my cheek with surprising gentleness. Now I find myself experiencing data corruption. My observations are becoming subjective. My heart raced at her touch. Is that a problem? It is unprecedented, she whispered. Nexians pride themselves on emotional regulation, yet I find myself anticipating our conversations with increasing intensity. The admission hung between us, profound in its simplicity. Whatever had begun as an experiment was evolving into something neither human nor Nexian protocol had prepared us for. My study concludes in 3 days, she continued. There will be a ceremonial gathering to present findings. And what will you tell them about us? Her metallic eyes seemed to soften in the dim light. I do not know. For the first time in my career, I cannot predict my conclusion. She moved closer, her cool breath fanning across my face. Perhaps we should gather more data. When her lips met mine, they were cold at first, then warmed beneath the contact. Different from human lips, firmer with a faint taste like mint and metal, but the effect was undeniably, universally intoxicating. Scientific experiment or not, I was falling for an alien woman who had quite literally appeared in my bed. And somehow, the most surprising discovery wasn't our differences, but how natural it felt to bridge them.